They tied a black cloth over the eyes of a young white German shepherd and left her shaking on the Brooklyn Bridge. The autumn air was sharp, the wind cutting through the gray sky. Cars thundered below, while streams of people hurried past without noticing. On her collar was a wrinkled scrap of paper with a message. She doesn't need to see this world. She was only 4 months old, and a single slip from the railing could have ended everything. I froze in place, the weight of my camera strap digging into my shoulder. My name is Marcus Hale, 41 years old, a street photographer in New York City. Yet in that instant, I wasn't just a witness. I was a man staring at a life seconds from disappearing. The puppy Viga trembled, her paws slipping on the slick steel beam of the bridge, the blindfold tight around her head. Tourists streamed past, phones raised for selfies against the skyline, unaware of the German shepherd fighting to balance between survival and the river below. I wanted to yell, to rush forward, to rip away that cruel cloth. Instead, my breath snagged in my chest. A year earlier, the dog I loved most had died in my arms, and grief had locked me away. Now Viga stood on that same edge I had carried inside. Myself. The wind grew harsher, pulling at her fur, the note on her collar snapping in each gust. My stomach turned. Who could decide a puppy wasn't worthy of this world? Who could blindfold innocence and leave it alone in the noise? Her tiny claws scratched helplessly against the railing, the faint sound nearly drowned by traffic, but to me, deafening. I stepped closer, inch by inch, heart hammering. "Easy, little one," I whispered, though I doubted she could hear me. The bridge shivered beneath my boots as trucks rattled past, shaking its iron bones. My hands were slick with sweat, my camera useless, instinct screaming at me to act before gravity did. Then, Viga's ears twitched as I shifted closer. She turned toward me, though blindfolded, body tense as a bow, paws sliding closer to the drop. My chest lurched. The world shrank to this trembling puppy, blindfolded and clinging to life. My legs moved before I thought, but the sound alerted her. She jerked back, claws screeching against steel, body tipping toward the edge. For a breathless second, I thought she was gone. Viga wobbled on the rail, blindfold snapping in the wind, the note flapping like a cruel banner. My lungs seized, every instinct pushing me to dive, but I forced myself to stay steady. One wrong move and she'd be lost to the river. Stay with me, little one, I murmured, voice breaking in the roar of traffic. I lifted my hands slowly, palms open as though I could shape safety out of thin air. People streamed by, couples with coffee cups, joggers pounding past, tourists laughing in countless languages. Some glanced, a few pointed, assuming it was staged, a trick, another video. I wanted to scream at them. Couldn't they see she was real? That she trembled so violently it seemed her body might shatter? A group of teenagers laughed, one raising a phone to record, and anger burned hot in my chest. This wasn't entertainment. This was survival. A memory surfaced. I was 10 years old, standing on my family's roof in Queens, coaxing our old shepherd Sasha, who froze at the edge. My father had whispered to me, "Don't scare her, son. Just talk. Let her hear you." Calm. Now, decades later, my father's words returned, trembling in my throat. The wind pressed harder, the bridge cables rattling like a drum. Viga whimpered, a fragile sound that cut straight through me. Her head jerked toward the faint noise of my boots on the boards. I froze mid-step, with the blindfold covering her. Eyes, she had only my scent, my presence, and my voice to hold on to. I crouched low, making myself smaller, less threatening. My camera swung forward and knocked against my chest with a hollow thud. Viga flinched, paws slipping back another inch. My breath caught as one paw dangled over the drop, her claws scratching uselessly at the air. Her chest heaved. Ribs pressing against thin fur, every breath a struggle against panic. My heart raced in sync as if I too balanced on that rail. The bridge trembled under a semi that roared by, the vibrations jolting through my bones. Viga recoiled, body arching, weight tipping dangerously toward the void. I dropped to my knees, the iron freezing through my jeans, and yanked off my jacket. A sudden lunge would drive her over, so I stretched the coat wide, slow as a net. A quiet promise. The blindfold snapped in the wind, her body curling tight as though she might shake herself apart. Her ears flicked toward my voice. "It's okay, Viga, I've got you. Just hold on." Her name felt sacred, like speaking it. Might keep her tethered to life. The bridge hummed under the traffic, each rumble grinding in my teeth. Viga crouched lower, claws scraping the beam, body rigid with fear. Tourists still pointed and muttered as though it were a show. One man smirked, muttering "cool stunt" before walking off. My fists clenched tighter around the sleeves of my jacket. How blind could they be? I edged closer, inch by inch, my breath shallow, the smell of rust and river sharp in my nose. I brushed the coat against the railing, letting the fabric whisper safety. Viga whimpered, pressing tighter against the narrow strip of steel. The sky hung heavy, clouds dragging low, the wind shoving against us both. Viga let out a sharp cry that split through me. She didn't trust me, not yet. To her, I was just another. Danger. I slowed everything, my breathing, my hands, my thoughts, until only her trembling frame existed. "Easy, little one. I know you don't believe me, but I won't let you fall. Not today." I slid closer, knees scraping, jacket stretched wide. Viga lifted her nose, twitching at the air. She could smell me now, sweat, the faint oil from him. My camera. She pressed tighter into the rail, and for a terrifying moment, I thought she might leap just to escape. The cables moaned as another gust barreled through. My gut screamed I had no time left. I lunged, arms wide, jacket flaring like wings. Viga yelped, twisting, claws raking steel as she jolted sideways. My hands closed on empty air. My stomach dropped as I grabbed at nothing, the city roaring below. For one crushing instant, I thought she was gone. Then warm fur, thrashing, desperate. I caught her chest, wrapping her in the jacket as she kicked and writhed, claws scraping at my wrists. I held tight, refusing to let go, not when she fought for her very life. She shrieked, the sound slicing through the traffic. The blindfold twisted, biting into her face. She didn't know I was saving her, only that another force had grabbed her. She thrashed, teeth snapping at the air, her body jerking so violently my arm shook. "Easy, Viga, I'm here. I've got you," I whispered, though my own voice shook. I dragged her down from the rail, my back slamming into the beams. Pain tore up my spine, but I barely noticed. Viga flailed against me, terror wrapped in fur. The blindfold slid, slipping free of her eyes, and at last, I saw them clenched tight, lids pinched shut against life itself. For a moment, I thought she was blind. Then she cracked them open golden eyes, wide with terror, darting everywhere for escape. She didn't see a rescuer. She saw another threat in a world that had already tried to erase her. Asterisk, I pulled her. Close, curling around her trembling frame, shielding her from the crowd. A few passers-by slowed, frowning as if they finally realized this wasn't an act. Most kept walking, their lives untouched by the miracle unfolding on the Brooklyn Bridge. Viga's heartbeat slammed against my chest, frantic as a trapped bird. Each time a truck thundered by, she jolted so violently I feared she would tear free. She pressed tighter into me, not from trust but from exhaustion, her strength nearly gone. I loosened the knot, tugged the blindfold away, and let it fall. The cloth fluttered once before the wind carried it over the edge. Viga shivered, ears flat, body curled so tightly it seemed she had never known safety. As I held her, breath ragged, it struck me. This wasn't an ending. It was the start of something far heavier. I lifted her against my chest, her body stiff as stone, and stepped from the railing on legs that barely held me. The roar of the city pressed in, but I whispered softly, "You're safe now, little one. I promise." She didn't believe it. Viga buried her head against my shirt, trembling so hard every shudder ran through my ribs. I carried her down the walkway, weaving through strangers who only cast puzzled looks. No one asked if she was okay. No one asked if I was. To them, we were just another odd scene in New York, forgotten the moment we passed. To me, she was life itself in my arms. Her breath came shallow, panicked. Every horn, every shout, every gust off the river jolted her. I pressed my chin to her head, murmuring nonsense anything to keep her anchored to my voice. The shadow of the blindfold lingered in her eyes. She winced at the brightness, lids flickering as though light itself felt cruel. I waved down the first yellow cab I saw, ignoring the driver's raised brow. "Nearest vet," I barked, clutching Viga as the door slammed. The cab lurched forward. She whimpered, claws digging into my arm. It's just a ride, not another fall." The city blurred outside, towers melting into gray streaks. My mind circled back to the note. She doesn't need to see this world. Who could write that? Tie it to a living creature and walk away? My throat burned, rage and grief tangled tight. We stopped outside a narrow brick clinic wedged between a laundromat and a bodega. I carried Viga in, the bell over the door chimming.